So hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our first webinar of 2026, Move Beyond Your Legacy System to an AI-Powered ERP. In this session, we'll be discussing the reasons why you should be looking to transition away from your legacy GP system and how we at Nolan can help you with your migration to an AI-Powered ERP. So what will we be discussing today? We're going to go through a quick introduction of who is on the call with us from the Nolan team. We'll run through a quick recap of the end-of-life announcement, which Microsoft made towards the end of 2024 regarding Dynamics GP. We'll then go into what this means for you guys as GP or legacy system users and the importance of acting now, and then move on to migrating to the cloud with Nolan and briefly introduce you to what AI-powered ERP brings to your business, and then wrap up with how we make things easy for you throughout your migration journey. Please feel free to enter any questions throughout the live session. If you can enter them into the chat and we'll try and answer them as we go. And if we have any left over, we'll come back to you with an answer directly over email. So who's on the call with us today? We have Mark Hennessy, our Managing Director here at Nolan. We have Colin Smith, our Technical Director and Co-founder. Andy Hall, our Support and Product Development. And myself, Sam Power, the Marketing Executive here at Nolan. So that's who we'll be presenting today. And now we'll have a quick recap of the end-of-life GP announcement made by Microsoft and what this means for you guys. So I'll hand you over to Andy.
Hello. So obviously, most of you will probably know who I am from having logged support calls and stuff with the business at some point. So we won't go all over that. What we're going to do to start with is go over the announcement that Microsoft did last year. Also, then we'll sort of take you up to date to where we are now and what that means for you. So if we have a look at the next slide, Sam. Right, this was the announcement that was put out last year. So that was Mike Morton, who's a vice president at Microsoft. There was a bit of a hoo-ha about this when it came out, and they had to put out several correcting statements and things like this, as it wasn't particularly well done. But what we've come up with here is basically the long and the short of it was there was an end of life date set for Dynamics GP. And they were basically saying that they're going to continue to support it during that period. We're not going to issue any new licenses, but we will do sort of regulatory tax updates and security updates and hot fixes and things like that. And they'll rely on the ISV ecosystem. So that's people like Nolan's and other people that like add-ons and things like that for Dynamics GP to fill in any gaps, etc. So if we flick over to the next one, we put up a very similar image to this last time, but this has changed. So you've probably seen this before. This is the modern life cycle, which all Microsoft products are on now, this modern life cycle program, which gives you an idea of what they're supporting when they're changing it, how often updates and things are going to come out, what versions are current, and all those kinds of things. This is a dynamic representation of that. Last time we showed you this, it was up to 2028. Okay, it stopped at 2028 and it said 2028 and beyond. What it now shows you is that there's a hard cutoff date of 2031. That's when all updates, extended support, everything ceases. We are now currently in 2026. So as you can see, that's fairly short time frame that you've got there to start thinking about what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be moving forward. And obviously 2029 is the end of product support. Now we do know, for instance, as they've popped up by this nice little arrow here, that in the UK there are some regulatory changes being introduced by HMRC and the government, which is in terms of e-invoicing. So what they're talking about there is having electronic invoices going forwards and backwards, being able to issue them, being able to receive them. But we're not just talking about PDF attachments here. We're talking about human readable machine code, so like machines can read them and put them through the system, etc. That's going to be mandatory in 2029. We've already asked Microsoft, A, are they aware of it? B, are they going to be doing anything about it? And the answer coming back was, no, we're not going to be doing anything about that. We're going to rely on third-party ISVs, etc., to do it. So obviously, if anything else comes along like that within that time frame, you can't rely on Microsoft being able to do that in the product for you. So you've got to sort of factor this sort of information into what you're planning for the future with your ERP system. Okie dokie. All right, next slide. Why are businesses moving to the cloud? Obviously, some businesses are forced into it by changes such as this, but there are some very good reasons to do it other than that. Cost efficiency. You've got lower upfront costs. You don't require hardware, and you don't require the IT infrastructure behind it, etc. So obviously, hardware means maintaining. You need extra swap out parts and stuff. You've got a network infrastructure that needs maintaining behind that. You need IT people that know what they're doing. So there's all these sort of overheads and stuff like that. All the ongoing maintenance and updates, etc., are handled by the provider, whether it's Oracle or whether it's Microsoft. All that's taken away. That no longer becomes a consideration. Okay. Scalability. It's a lot easier to scale your business up. You or pretty much all you're doing is asking for extra user licenses and things like that. They appear, they're in, they're gone. You don't need to think about, for instance, the infrastructure it's based on. If you've got another 20 users and you're accessing it remotely over a Citrix desktop or terminal server or something like that, those things generally only rated for about 20 users per server and things. So you'd have to think about the hardware infrastructure and all those other sorts of things as well when you're trying to scale it up. Obviously, this is all over the web. SaaS in their service centers, it's all dealt with them. So it's a lot easier to scale up all of these things without any disruption. And adding extra modules and things like that are very easy as well. It's just there, it's on it, and you're not then having to go around, update loads of workstations and things like that as well. So accessibility, obviously, it's in the cloud. Anywhere you can get internet access, you can get to your data. If you've got a decent connection, you can work from the beach, right? We don't have those kind of problems that we had over COVID, specifically with Dynamics GP, in that this bit of software was written back in the 1990s, long before things like SQL and that were even considered. It was a flat file system. And quite frankly, it wasn't designed to be remotely accessed. And consequently, we ran into a lot of problems with IT departments and stuff, assuming it behaved like a more modern piece of software. And people then had to put in a lot of extra infrastructure and stuff to be able to access this stuff remotely. You don't have any of those problems. If you can get on the internet, you can get to your data, and it is secure. All right. The biggest one, automatic updates. Anybody that's been through a Dynamics GP upgrade will know there is a lot involved in an upgrade. We've got to consider all sorts of things like numbers of users, numbers of workstations, modifications, etc. All of that goes away. These things are designed to just update with the bare minimum effort, and they'll do it twice a year for the major upgrades. And there's incremental upgrades and bits that go on throughout that time. And they do produce a release preview or a sandbox site that you can test these things in before they update. And if that update's going to clash with something that you do within your system, like a year end or something, you do have the ability to reschedule those updates backwards and forwards. So it's not something you have no control over. You can stipulate when those updates are going to be within a certain time frame. Okay. Improved security. You're now relying on the likes of Oracle and NetSuite. Oracle, NetSuite, or Microsoft themselves with Business Central to provide that security for you. And with the best will in the world, they are able to bring a lot more to that party than you possibly could as a company. So you're relying on those big name providers for your security measures, and they are in very secure data centers. These things are like nuclear bunkers, and they will take away people's mobile phones before they enter and all sorts of things. They are very, very, very secure. Disaster recovery, again, it's a lot more robust option. These things are automatically replicated for you in the background. So if the machine that in the data center that's actually happens to be the one that's got your tenant on it, and the data that machine goes down, they'll just flip it over to the other machine that's using that. And the data centers, the data is replicated between them as well. So it's a very secure disaster recovery module. You don't have to worry now about taking secure backups, keeping them off site in fireproof safes, and how you're going to get everything back up and running if you have a problem with the office and all those kind of stuff. It's just a matter of getting internet access, and anything happens to their stuff flips over directly. Very good. So they're 99.7% uptime guaranteed on these things. Obviously, integration and innovation, these are newer technologies. They are built for the internet age. They were built with web in mind. They were built with the ability to access all these other things, where with your current GP, it's about how can we get it to do that? These were built with all of that in mind. They're designed to be used over the web and in a SaaS environment. So as new technologies come along, they are designed to incorporate that. So obviously the big one at the moment, the game changer, is things like AI and machine learning. You will find with both NetSuite and Business Central, both of those products now already have AI in them, and people are using it to their advantage. So as well as integrating to other things, because they're web solutions, you're integrating with APIs and things like that. So we don't have the problems we used to have with writing flat file integrations and pulling in CSVs and all those kinds of things. That's just gone away. It's all done with APIs, etc. now. And of course, with the advent of these sort of things, you've got all these AIs. It's become so easy now to query your data. You don't need to have the big data warehouse with a BI tool over it anymore. With these AI tools, you can get summaries, deeper insights just by asking it there and then on the spot, without having to delve into lots of reports and forms and stuff to get that information. So all that, as that new innovation comes along, it's going to be there for you to use. It's just a matter of switching it on and using it. Right. So what does this mean? And for that, I'm going to pass you across to Colin.
Thanks, Andy. Right, so let's look at what it means to you as a customer currently on GP or one of the legacy systems. So a year ago, we were saying, don't panic, we've got you. The message is the same, that we've got you, but what we're saying now is, let's start planning what we're going to do. So again, don't panic, but it's definitely time to start planning. This is your move to your system. So why now? Why are we saying this? Well, the cloud's become the delivery mechanism for ERP, but it's not only ERP. Your email, your communications, your telephone, probably your timesheet system, your expenses system, those are all delivered nowadays within the cloud. And at Nolan's, we've decommissioned all our in-house servers now, so everything we have is in the cloud as part of our organization, and that's the way that the world has moved, that everything is delivered through cloud-based systems. Coming up at number 2, and this is a new feature, because when we spoke this time last year, AI was just something which, it was on the fringes, but the last 12 months is really, AI has taken off. And what we're seeing is that now's the time to start unlocking those features within your ERP. And you can see every release, new features coming into ERPs now with AI features such as predictive insights and automated processing, intelligent analytics, and things like that are all now being built into these systems. So it's a good reason for making the change now. As Andy said, the new products are delivered with product regulatory and security options built in. So why now is to take advantage of that. So as we're all very aware of sites that have been hacked, ransomware and things like that coming through. We've probably all been affected by other companies having those attacks on them. So why now is that moving to a cloud solution brings in those regulatory and security options delivered by people like Microsoft and Oracle. Why now is also because we want to make sure that the plans are well thought through, that we're organized, and we give you plenty of lead time to plan your move, to decide on which system you want to move to, and migrate in an organized fashion to a new system. So the clock is ticking, and we want you to be able to upgrade your legacy system at your own pace and make sure that we're not rushed at the end. So let's have a look at what it means to me. So this time last year again, we talked about the 1st of April 2025 when Microsoft announced that there'd be no new Dynamics GP customers. Well, that's gone. That's happened. There's no new GP customers being added into the system. That's new sites. You can add extra users, but there's no new GP customers coming on board. The next milestone, the 2029, is the end of product enhancements. Although you'll have heard from Andy that enhancements such as e-invoicing and things like that won't be put into the system. So as they come through, change in regulatory, Microsoft won't be adding those in. So as we go through towards 31st of December 2029, we won't be able to provide any new functionality or upgrades. Basically, you'll be on extended support, and then 30th of April 2031, that will be the end of any security updates as well. So that's the timeline in more detail, just making sure that we're clear on when things will stop happening with the system. Okay, so what does that mean to me? In effect, there's important areas about what we need to be thinking about. So planning your transition to AI-powered ERP. And what we're finding here is that companies are already planning their AI adoption strategies. And you'll notice that within things like Excel and Word, inside your emails, inside Teams, there's all these AI tools. So it's time now to start planning how that affects your accounting system, your ERP system as well, because those tools are available within there. Other areas you need to be thinking about, your historic data, the data you've currently got in GP, and also start thinking about your chart of accounts. So we find this in a lot of our implementations. This is where it starts, and this is probably the area that takes most time, is sitting down, looking at the chart of accounts you've currently got in GP, where it's working for you, where it's not working for you, and planning what your new chart of accounts might look like. The chart of accounts forms the basis for all your reporting. So setting that up correctly, and it might be that as you project forward for the next 5, 10 years, 20 years, now's a chance to reevaluate the way your chart of accounts is set up to provide reporting going forward in the future. You should be thinking about what integrations you currently have, so that we can make sure that the new ERP system correctly fits in to your infrastructure within your organization and integrates to those systems that you're currently using, whether it's operational systems or data collection systems. Those integrations are important, and we need time to make sure that everything's linked up properly. You should be thinking about the timescales that you need to put in place, and the next slide will go in a bit more detail about timescales and how we can work with that and think about what affects those timescales. We talked about your internal AI adoption strategy and what you're doing as a business, adopting AI and using AI and how that will affect your ERP system. And finally, on this slide, the change management, which is important. We find it in so many sites and so many implementations of new systems that we've been doing recently, is that there's a human side to this. And there's a road to be gone down with the users to make sure that there's good adoption, that people feel included, that they feel that they're gaining benefit from this change. So that change management is a really important thing to be thinking about as part of your change of your ERP system. So let's go and have a look, like I said, at the timescales in a bit more detail. So what we're finding is that moving your system can happen at year end, but it doesn't have to happen at year end. We know that year ends are really busy, but migrating your system, it's working out when is good for you, when you're most busy, when you're least busy, and factor that into your plans. So we have customers where they do seasonal food type deliveries. So obviously, sort of November, December is not a good time for moving their ERP system, but maybe sort of April is a good time when things are quieter. Year ends, again, I mentioned year ends before, but year ends are important because there's reporting requirements and everything like that around year ends. So think about what specific times of the year that are most busy or least busy, and a good time for you to move your ERP system. Think about if you have any big changes planned that might affect your system. Maybe there's an acquisition in the wings. Is it good to change to a new system now, and then when you do the acquisition, it's just a case of plugging the new company into your new ERP system? Maybe you want to leave it till after the acquisition and then do both companies together. It's different for every company, but just think about the big changes that you might have. Maybe it's that you're in need of some new functionality, some new reporting, some new CRM type functionality that you want, and maybe that already exists inside a new cloud-based ERP. So if you're in need of new functionality, perhaps look at where you're going in terms of ERP as well, and think about the projects together, because like I say, you might find that your ERP system includes that CRM functionality. We've recently done one customer who they were looking at upgrading their Microsoft CRM, and what we're able to do is put Business Central in at the same time as the upgrade of the CRM, and from that we were able to leverage the functionality of both systems together, which made a really good story. If your current hardware is coming end of life, these servers don't last forever. You start getting disk failures and things like that. Think about whether it's worthwhile replacing that hardware, or whether it's worthwhile now moving to the cloud where you don't need that hardware to run on it. And what your remote working solution is doing for you as well. So Andy mentioned about having to have tools which you need to facilitate people dialing into GP. Well, if that's becoming a problem for you, then migrating earlier sooner than later would be better, because you can just work from the cloud. So all those items work into your timeframes as to when's a good time for you to start planning and moving to ERP. just take an example of the time frame. If we as a business decided September 2026 was a good time for us to go live, what we've found as Nolans in implementing these new systems or migrating you from GP into these new systems is we need to start work on it probably 6 months ahead. And that gives us time to do the implementation, do the data migration, do the training, get the customer acceptance. So 6 months is a good lead time on that. If we will need to start work in March 2026, then we need to really begin our skates on now to be able to go through the discovery sessions, the demos of which system we're going to, signing the statement of work, signing the contracts, and getting the project started. So if that was my time scale, I would, like I said, I'd really be needing to start working on now, because I've pretty much got 5 weeks to get that going. Okay, so what does it mean to you as a company? And this depends, it's different things to different companies, and it depends on things like your aptitude to change. I've mentioned before that change can be daunting, but it can also be exciting. Having the new tools, having AI inside your system, being able to ask questions of a large language model and get responses back can be exciting. So it means different things, and it depends on your appetite to change, appetite to embrace new technologies for better reporting functionality as well. But either way, people react differently, and that user adoption to change is very important. It's also about your business attitude to risk. So don't be put off by stories about system implementations going wrong. We at Nolan's, we've been doing these migrations from GP now for a couple of years, and we've worked on a process that makes successful implementations of these new systems. And what we've found is it's down to the planning and the execution of that work, and having a really strong, experienced projects team around it to track the progress and make sure that the change is as smooth as possible. And our projects team will work with you and with anybody inside your organization that's designated to the project to make sure that any risks in the system and the migration are mitigated as much as possible. So what's Nolan's position on all of this? Well, we're committed, as we've said all along, to providing support and development services throughout the lifetime of your Dynamics GP. So as long as you keep using GP, we're committed to supporting you in that. What we have been doing, and our current position, is that we've also been moving our Nolan GP modules to work with these cloud offerings. So if you're using eRequest on GP or ABR inside GP, you'll find those products now available within our cloud offerings. So the idea there is to make your migration as smooth as possible. The new products, they include a lot of enhanced features, but they're similar to the GP product, which means that user adoption is a lot easier. And our current position is we're going to help you, or we are helping you, users and yourselves, plan and implement the migration to the cloud. As a business, like I said, we're launching our new products, and those new products, we're working hard to put AI capabilities inside eRequest and ABR to make the use of those products even easier than what you've got at the moment. And we've got a training schedule working inside Nolan's, where we're training up all our staff, and they're writing the Oracle and the NetSuite exams to be AI ready and take advantage of all the AI features within these products. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mark Hennessy. Mark's going to go through what the products look like that we're migrating customers to. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Colin. Yes, we'll go to the next slide, Sam. So I just thought I'd talk a little bit about Nolan's first, just in terms of, a lot of people know us as a Great Plains as a GP partner. We've actually been working with Oracle NetSuite for 17 years, moving customers into the cloud, doing new implementations for cloud-based ERP. So we're not new to cloud ERP, and neither, both products actually. So, but we've been around for 37 years now. 17 of those moving, doing a cloud-based ERP. We've got the same software development teams that we've had over GP, fully up and running, trained on NetSuite and on Business Central, and have been for many years actually. So we've got good qualified technical resource behind both of the new products, as well as GP obviously, and that also goes through the rest of the teams that support the development, consultancy. We have dedicated project management team as well, and obviously people doing training. So we are NetSuite solution provider partners. We're also Microsoft solution partners you'd expect for business applications. So we've got both accreditations from both Oracle and Microsoft, to better work with both of these products, in addition to doing GP obviously. Okay. So if you've seen any of our marketing over the last couple of years, really, we've been talking a lot about this kind of head-to-head Business Central versus NetSuite, trying to compare the two products. And as Nolan's, when we jumped into the cloud, we were thinking, well, what are the best products for a lot of our GP customers to move across to? And we looked at, obviously, we jumped into NetSuite very early. It was the first sort of cloud company really. And then when Business Central came around a good few years ago now, is it the right system for all of our GP sites? So we had a look out to the market, all the different systems that were available, and it stood head and shoulders above the rest. So for us, it was a pretty obvious decision to go forward with both Microsoft Dynamics Business Central and with Oracle NetSuite. And both products have now got over 40,000 companies running on them. So they are both very mature systems. They're not new. It's not version 1. They've tried and tested and working out in the real world. So. Okay. So talking a little bit about Business Central, obviously, we talk about the Microsoft advantage around Business Central. It has by far and away the best integration with Microsoft 365 in terms of integration with Excel and Teams and things like that. It goes without saying, I guess. Copilot AI, you've just seen Copilot through Office, as we were saying earlier. So that is just embedded throughout Business Central. Really user-friendly interface. It's a Microsoft product, so it sort of adopts the usual Microsoft way of working. And typically, Business Central has a lower total cost of ownership than NetSuite. So that's the kind of sort of headline stuff around Business Central, I guess. In the next slide, we talk about Oracle NetSuite. So we talk about the power of the suite with NetSuite. So the idea is it's one suite that will run the whole business. So it does have sort of wider functionality in terms of it includes a CRM, it includes case management and project management and things like that. But it does come at a cost, so it is more expensive than Business Central, but you get more for that. So if that's some functionality that you need, that can make sense. If you don't, then maybe it doesn't make sense. So one world consolidation is a big part of it and a big differentiator between the two. NetSuite is very good at multi-company, multi-subsidiary, multi-currency, and having real-time consolidation through the system, not just for sort of P&L balance sheet, which it will do in real time without any external reporting tools, but through things like sales pipeline or debtors or creditors reporting and all these things. We have a suite success approach, which is kind of pre-built NetSuite accounts for key industries. So we get a head start on the implementation. Includes CRM as standard. Obviously, with Business Central, we can plug in Microsoft CRM. That integrates pretty seamlessly. NetSuite just has that as part of the suite. There's 4 or 5 different reporting and analytics tools built into NetSuite as well, which is really powerful. And NetSuite Next, which they've announced, which is their kind of AI through NetSuite, which we'll look at in just a second. Okay, so what does an AI-powered ERP bring to your business? I think the next slide actually we talk a little bit about reporting as well there. So let's just move to the next slide. So looking at Copilot Studio on this slide for Business Central. So Copilot Studio is the kind of paid version of Copilot, which brings a lot more. And you can build your own AI agents within Copilot Studio and have them work on your Business Central data. So it has access to your ERP data as well as your sort of Microsoft 365 data. Enable you to kind of automate manual repetitive workflows across the business. intelligent insights. It can go and report on your data that you've got hidden away inside Business Central, improving decision making, make it easier for reporting. It becomes less about producing reports and more about asking the system the information that you want, really. Real-time interactions with just using natural language, so just asking natural language questions of Copilot, and it'll go off because it's got access to your data and give you the answers sort of to that. Improved financial analysis with AI-assisted suggestions and summaries as well. So using AI to analyze that data and come up with insights for you. Okay. We've got agents. So we hear a lot about AI agents going forward. So Microsoft ships with the sales order agent and the payables agent. The sales order agent will essentially think of these things as an extra member of the team. It will sit and monitor say a sales mailbox, look for emails coming in from customers. It will check inventory levels for them. It will create quotes for you within Business Central, send them out, and then process replies. It gets back from customers, and then if the quote gets accepted, it will actually create those sales orders for you within the system as well, or automatically, or with human intervention along the way as you get for sort of approvals and checking and review. But doing a lot of that basic kind of admin work for you by the AI agent. Payables agent does the same sort of thing, but on the payable side, so looking for supplier invoices coming in, pick up those PDF invoices, reading them, creating the invoices straight in Business Central for you, ready for your review and approval. So we'll see more and more agents coming into ERP. Okay. And here's just an example of integration with Microsoft 365, really. So on the left, we can see options there to edit this data in Excel. You can just kick data out to Excel, work on Excel, and put it back into Business Central really easily. Or you can actually run Copilot within that screen on the left there and use it sort of Excel type functionality actually within Business Central. And on the right, we're seeing a Business Central dashboard published through Microsoft Teams. So seeing that integration with Teams as well, and we've adopted that with Request as well. So yeah, really good integration with 365. Looking at NetSuite, so this is sort of a couple of screens on NetSuite next. So again, collaborating with agents. So here, a AI agent has been sitting looking at product returns. So when a return comes back, looking at return authorizations, asking what's going on with this. This example is a particular treadmill that's in an increase in faults happening. So the AI agent is looking for those returns, spotting trends, reading customer communications through support cases in NetSuite, looking at all the emails going backwards and forwards, finding out what's going on, what is the fault, and then generating recommendations around it. So it's producing an analysis of the returns and why there's a sudden spike, but then actually recommending action. So recommend at the bottom here that we take these treadmills, put them into a quarantine warehouse because we've changed the supplier from one to another. There's a problem with the screens on them, so let's put them in a quarantine warehouse and go and inspect them before we send any more out. So the AI has been really that agent sitting there monitoring your data and coming up with helpful suggestions. Okay. And this one is about sort of querying the data as well. So looking at least and most profitable items. So the last 12 months, the top performers, 32% margins on the top three, whereas the bottom are only hitting 3% margins. Well, what's going on? So let's ask AI again, well, let's add discount rates into this chart, and then we can see with the sort of light to teal bars there, teal colored there, that the discount levels, so the three lowest performing products, well, we're discounting them really heavily. So why? Let's go talk to the sales team and find out what's going on there. So it's like I say, asking questions every day and getting the answers using AI. Okay, so hand back to Colin just to wrap things up.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so aim at Nolan is to make things easy for you. So what we've done internally is we've recruited some cloud migration specialists, and there's a picture there of Gary Hawksford. So what Gary does, you'll receive an email. You can book dates with Gary for an initial call. And what Gary will do is he'll walk you through a discovery session. Questions work around which is going to be the best solution for you. He can talk about both of the solutions very easily, work out with you what's the best solution. We can then do demonstrations to work through those. And that works through asking the questions and the demonstrations to a statement of work, where we're able to put down exactly what's going to be done within the migration from GP into your new system. Once the statement works, once we've agreed the statement works, we're able to go through and sign the contracts that's with us and the ERP providers, and kick off the project. So a nice sort of 5-stage plan, and you've got Gary there to guide you through each one of those steps, to help you make those right decisions, and get to the point where the project kickoff happens. So hopefully a nice, easy process. And I know Gary's been working successfully with a number of our GP customers, and he's looking forward to speaking to all of you about your next steps on your migration path. So thank you very much.
Okay, so that's it from us today. I hope you found the webinar useful. This will be made available for you to watch on demand if you'd like to revisit anything from the session, and we'll get that link sent out to you shortly. If you have any further questions after the webinar, please reach out to us using our contact information on the screen. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for joining.